Hey Off-White Coat listeners, it is my privilege to get to tell you about this sweet deal from our friends over at Picmonic. If you haven't heard about Picmonic, it is a fantastic picture-based mnemonic platform that can certainly help out any student. Most of the videos are around 2 minutes long and provide a quick and effective way to memorize material for any upcoming medical exam. It is extremely efficient. They have this search bar function where you can search playlists on general topics like renal to step 1 to step 2, or even first aid and other books. If you want to review the Picmonic for later, you can even make a playlist of your own. Picmonic even has this repetition algorithm that is spaced out according to your learning needs. This helps with increasing long-term retention and allows you to review the right information at the right time. One of my favorite functions is the quizzes that are associated with each Picmonic. I'll take the quiz first and then learn about the associated pictures and what facts I need to sharpen up on. Honestly, Picmonic is a fantastic tool, and if you use our code OFFWHITECOAT, you'll get 20% off. That's Off-White Coat with no spaces. So what are you waiting for? Make studying the easiest part of your day. Sign up with Picmonic and use Off-White Coat to save yourself some money.
Hey. Because we got a lot of shit to say.
Yeah. Do you like it when I whisper?
I do.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing? Let me whisper in your ear. That you might like to hear.
Hey.
That's gonna be the intro music to this one.
Hello, mama.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Off-White Coat podcast. I'm going to be your host, Jordan Abney, and today I'm joined by two special guests. This one's a big one.
It's the military edition right now. Military grade.
This is a military grade podcast. What's the Air Force's
Broken AF.
Yeah, I am joined today by Kelsie Abney and Grant Abney.
How's it going?
Hello.
Yes, and if you can't judge by the last name, we are all related.
Yeah. I am Jordan's brother, and Kelsie is my wife. So, yeah, there's that.
Winning big. Yes, they are both in the Air Force. That's where they met. Grant was...
Yep, so let me tell a little ditty.
Oh, God.
So I was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And Kelsie was doing her training there. I'm a biomedical equipment technician by trade. And Kelsie is like a med tech, like an LPN by trade. And
/ EMT.
Yeah.
All the things.
So
all things.
She was doing her training there and, swiped right.
On the tender.
Yeah. She also swiped right. And yeah, that's all she wrote. Now we currently are residing in Anchorage, Alaska, and soon probably to be moving towards Washington, D.C.
Doing big shit.
Ooh,
big
yes,
shit
yes,
out here.
yes. Y'all are officially moving. So there was a couple things I guess I had to ask about that. With you being in the Air Force, how long do you stay at one location?
So it really depends when you're stationed overseas. So you have usually a 3 to 4 year tour, or if it's a short tour to kind of like Osan, Turkey, stuff like that, that's shorter. But Alaska is one of those ones that you get a 3 year to 4 year. Mm-hmm. So I hit my 3 years in August. So it's time for me to go.
There you go. Are you excited about moving to D.C.?
I'm super excited. I'll be going to Walter Reed, which is one of the top hospitals in the military. That's actually where...
And the world.
So it's actually where the president goes to receive medical care. And anybody that's hurt overseas, such as like gunfire, IED, kind of explosions, they go, once they are stabilized, they go to Walter Reed to continue medical care. So I'll be in the ICU there, so I'll go to see a lot of cool stuff.
I thought an IUD was just to prevent pregnancy.
IUD.
Yeah, it would be it would be IED.
Dumb.
But whatever.
Let's take that one out.
The bomby shit.
Let's start over.
We better not let Uncle Sam is listening. Yes. Well, we will get back to Alaska. I guess what I wanted to start it off with was the reason I invited or the reason I'm having them both on here is because they are perfect specimens for a medical talk. Between Grant and Kelsie, they lead very exciting lives.
Exciting is a strange term to use for what our lives are. But yes, continue.
Yes, yeah. And we will get to most of the medical stuff after this one last part, because I do want to ask you a couple questions about Alaska.
Okay.
While we're on the topic. But I just want to let everybody know that this one's going to be a big one. We're going to spread awareness for Castleman's poems. And Grant, we'll also throw in
proctitis.
But yes. So getting back to Alaska, though, I did hear the mosquitoes were terrible.
Oh, yeah. So they're basically, if you've ever seen like a horsefly, you know how big those are? That's like the size of the mosquitoes there. And
Jesus.
yeah, so it's really bad near water. Of course, that's where mosquitoes love to live.
We live near water.
Which Anchorage is basically surrounded by water. Of course, it's kind of like a peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywhere you go in Anchorage is kind of by water. And so there's a lot of mosquitoes, which you wouldn't imagine.
How long do you have mosquitoes for?
So the summer is only about 3 to 4 months. So only about that time frame. Mm. So it's not horrible, but when they are there, it's pretty bad.
Like, I know in Alaska, you get very little daylight. How does that affect you? Like, do you prefer it that way, or? How are the winters? Is more the question.
Depression.
So seasonal depression, I didn't ever think it was like a real thing. Like, people are just depressed, you know. But coming to Alaska, that was really a eye opener for me because, you know, in the summers you feel great, but in the winters when it starts getting dark, you start noticing that you don't want to do anything. You want to sleep because it's dark, you know. Mm-hmm. Who wants to get off work when it's pitch dark outside and go snowboarding, you know? It's like, oh, it's time for bed. So you start to get in a rut, and, you know, the winters are most of the time.
How much daylight do you get during the winter?
So in the peak of the darkness, it's about 2 hours of sunlight a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
At what time?
So it's midday. So
okay. Yeah. 12 and 1.
Yeah. The work hours.
So yeah, I work in a clinic and we have windows in the back. So sometimes when have a second, I will go out to the back and look out the windows and admire the little bit of sunlight, and then I go back to work.
Are your hours still the same in the summer and winter?
Yep. So
that stinks.
Yeah,
you don't have any daylight, but yet you're still.
Yeah. So
I work in the basement, so you have less daylight down there.
You have no daylight period.
Yeah.
So gotta stick the uglies down in the basement to keep us away from the general population.
Yeah, Grant, you are what'd you call yourself? An electronic
that was completely wrong. It's a biomedical equipment technician, BMET for short. So we work on all sorts of medical equipment from x-rays to thermometers.
Mm-hmm. You did tell me you could fix an EKG.
Yeah.
I can fix an EKG. Most of the time it is user error, just so y'all all know. Stop breaking fucking cables. Sorry. But also, I'm being rude. But that being said, be nice to your BMETs because they will fix your shit super quick if you're nice to them. And if you treat them like dog shit, they will take their time. So they might not be that busy, but they will take their time.
Or you can just sleep with them.
There you go. I guess that helps.
That's one way to get your stuff fixed.
Just fuck your BMETs.
Jesus.
What? So, was there anything that you had to fix that you didn't know how to fix it?
So there's a lot of things that I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest with you. And I've been doing this for 5 years now. So when it comes, cause equipment ranges, even vital signs machines range. So you kind of have to go into the manual and call. And luckily, a lot of companies have tech support that you can call, and some are better than others. So you usually just give them a call and be like, hey, yo, this is the issue. What's up? What can I do? And they'll usually walk you through it. And most of the time, there's no fee for it.
Okay. Has there ever been a situation where they were like, hey, you gotta fix this and pick it up, and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing?
Yeah. So sterilizers are a big one. Because there's so many different intricacies with them, and obviously water running through, and a lot of places have hard water, so it really ruins them pretty quickly. So heat, water, all that stuff running through stuff, or really like blast it. So I mean, dude, I've spent like a week, like nothing else, doing one sterilizer, trying to figure it out. And that's pretty draining, especially when you're like day 4 in and you're like, I still don't know what the issue is, but it is always rewarding when you figure out what it is. I guess it would be the same as, curing cancer.
Taking apart a watch.
Or taking apart a watch, yes.
But saving lives.
Easy, curing cancer.
I mean, technically, you got to think of it like...
We're in that business today. We're going to cure some cancer.
Like as medical technicians or doctors, we need that equipment to save lives. And so without the BMETs, I wouldn't know how to fix anything.
Grant did say, he was like, call me if you ever have an issue with the EKG machine. I was like, I will not be doing any of the fixing.
Yeah, so BMETs are really important because even as med techs, doctors, whatever, we need our stuff to work when we need it. And so thankfully we have these people that are always there, willing to come fix our stuff. And a lot of times we are so in a rush that we do break things. And so a lot of it is user error, and but we need it, and they fix it even though they get frustrated. So lots of times there's times where Grant getting upset because, somebody broke something, but he's always, there to fix it, even though it is their fault.
Is it just one BMET for your family? Because I know you're working in family med right now, right?
That is untrue. No, so I work throughout the whole hospital, but family med does have a hold on me because that is where Kelsie works. So I bounce through the whole hospital, yeah.
You just are essentially at her beck and call, though, considering she's doing the thing.
Yes, some would say that. If I get the text message like, hey, can you help out? I usually have about a 5-minute window before I get a phone call. So it's a pretty quick turnaround in my career field for the wifey. But no, so at J-Bear we have, I think, 15 to 17 BMETs assigned, and that's ranging from, people just in leadership roles that aren't actually doing any boots on the ground per se type stuff. But we work throughout the whole hospital, whether it's surgery, inpatient facilities, outpatient facilities, all that stuff. Even we go all around base looking at the AEDs that are set up in like firehouses or the gym.
Yeah.
So yeah, we maintain essentially, I think for the whole base, there's 5,000 pieces of equipment, or over 5,000 pieces of equipment at the hospital. And then that doesn't include the 2,000 pieces of equipment we have of deployable stuff at our WRM, which is War Reserve material. And that's all of our assemblages for deployments, whether it be, ventilators or defibs, thermometers, laptops, all that stuff. It's all maintained through us.
Okay. Did you find that now that you're in the Air Force, you start picking out what planes you're actually flying on?
No.
He asked me the other day, he was like, what's that plane you're flying out on?
We only know certain ones.
What?
Yes.
I was like, I'd never even considered that was on the ticket.
The only one I know is the one that goes vroom vroom, really fast, which is a jet, obviously. And then
Top Gun.
There's the cargo planes like the C-17s. And the only reason I know that one is because that's what we took down to Antarctica when we flew down there.
Okay. You had just asked me, so I was like,
Yeah,
maybe the Air Force hasn't.
No clue.
We don't really learn much about planes unless you're working on them or flying them. as a medic, I kind of get to go to Flightline like every so often, and we get to see some of the jets and the different planes and stuff, just because we assist with any missions, like say people are jumping out of the plane or helicopters or whatever. But you kind of just know what's at your base, and that's about it, and some of the planes that we have, or jets that we have at our base, are not at every other base. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, I was down there in San Antonio. I was down there for the graduation. Got to see all the models and makes of planes. You know how they have them all sitting out on the... Yeah. That was pretty cool. Grant, you've actually gotten to go a couple places. You went to Antarctica for a little bit of time, correct?
That is correct, Jordan.
How was that journey?
So it was actually really fun. Well, okay. The first 19 days sucked because we were in quarantine in San Francisco and then flew on a chartered flight to New Zealand to then be quarantined in downtown Christchurch for 14 days.
Wait, why 19?
That was the total.
So 14 days or 4 days in San Francisco.
Oh, and then
a day flight, and then another 14 days.
Jeez.
And that was because they didn't want COVID to get down to the ice. Yeah, so it's a 5-hour flight down to the ice from Christchurch, New Zealand. So, and if they have to fly somebody out, medevac them out for COVID related things, or if somebody gets sick down there, it does shut down everything for 14 days. So, but I've also been to other cool places. I went to Portland, Oregon for 2 weeks to work the paratroopers and work on their equipment.
Interesting.
Yeah, out of a reserve base. That was fun. Air Force pays for it, so it's pretty chill. I've also been to San Antonio again.
You were in Las Vegas?
I was in Las Vegas, yes. Viva Las Vegas. And
okay,
then,
but do you have any more?
I got a couple places I'm going, but that's neither here nor there.
I did want to ask you about did you see any penguins in Antarctica?
No, the penguins came in January and we left in November. So we did see some seals though.
Okay. What were you doing down there?
Okay, so essentially I was doing the job I currently hold at the hospital, just in a more deployed environment. So we went to McMurdo Station, which is, like I said, south of New Zealand. And these are all USAT bases, so United States Antarctic Program bases. And they do have other bases there for like the Kiwis, which is like the New Zealand nationals. And then they have the South Pole base.
Might have been slightly not politically correct calling them
Kiwis. No, Kiwi is the right term.
Okay, I was like, I don't know.
No, I thought the same thing too when I first heard it. I was like, we probably shouldn't be calling them that, but they're white, so it's okay. Who cares? No, but then we also service the South Pole in that same trip. But that's another flight that you take from McMurdo for about 8 hours to the South Pole, and it's -80 there. I did not go there. The other guy I went with went. And then there's another base out below Chile.
Okay.
But so, yeah, essentially back to the question at hand. It's a clinic they have there that also has all their medevac equipment and deployable type equipment. So deployable vents, they're called 731s. They're like a box type vent. You probably won't see them in your standard hospital. We have them in the military hospital because that's what they are. And then just honestly, there's 400 pieces of equipment in there in a room probably smaller than Jordan's studio apartment.
Okay.
So
yeah, and they just threw all their broken stuff in there, and they were like, "Hey, we're waiting for you to come fix it."
Luckily, so it's kind of when it's in a deployed location, kind of like that, you're kind of just doing what's the word? Like control. You're just trying to control it. So I think we only ran into a couple broken things, and we were just like, "Yo, buy new shit." Because we can't fix this. Like, it's not going to be fixed until next October when we have another team come out and do the same thing. And even then, like, we can't bill it to our place because of the fact that it's not our equipment. So it has to be billed, like, the USAT program has to bill themselves, essentially.
Okay.
And be like, this is what we need type stuff. But it's a pretty cool experience. I would suggest if you're going to go to Antarctica, go in the summer.
Jacket.
Yeah, no, they supply jackets. They supply the big fluffy ones. But go in the summer, but even when we went and this is obviously south of the equator, so summer and winter are different. Or the opposite.
Yeah, opposite.
But we went in October, November, and it was in the negative teens and then it, like if it was a still day, like no wind, which happened never, it would get up to the positive teens.
Okay.
In Fahrenheit.
Ugh. That's too cold for me. I could barely deal with New York.
You know, it's
Y'all live
really,
in Alaska, though, so.
Yeah, I think that's why they send us, is because we are in Alaska, so we're used to the cold. Because, you know, you don't want somebody that's in Vegas where the coldest it gets is 50 to go out there and be freezing their buttocks off.
Yeah, the snow just melted for y'all, right? Like it was in May or...
It was kind of towards the end of April when the snow finally like all went away, except on the mountains, of course. But yeah, it was towards the end of April, beginning of May when everything officially melted. Yeah, snow sticks around, so once it starts snowing, it doesn't go away until April, May. Yeah.
No bueno.
Yep. Snowblowers are a must.
Yeah. And now you live there with your 6 animals.
Yeah.
Oh, what we should talk about. So you lived in Las Vegas. That's where, I guess you met in Las Vegas? Or did you meet in Alaska?
We met in Vegas. And
Tender baby.
So I was there for about a month and a half. We met, we kind of hit it off, and we just kept it going for a while. I flew him up to Alaska, and then we kind of both realized that, you know, we wanted to
get married by Elvis.
We wanted to get married or to be together. So in the Air Force, in order to be together and get stationed together and stay together is kind of to get married.
You make more money that way.
And we do make more money. But yeah, I never thought when we first started talking that, you know, this would turn into anything. But
you just thought you were going to get quick service on your on your
no,
broken
literally
medical equipment.
One of the things that like I first said to him is like, I'm only here for like, you know, blah blah, and we can just be friends with benefits and till I leave. And
man, I'm sorry
LOL.
that you're listening to this right now.
No, she's already heard the story. The full thing.
Any nanas out there, friends with benefits is just where you get to play card games. And
the
then,
Queen of Hearts.
Yes, like solitaire and stuff like that.
Yes, they've been playing some card games. They are one of the few people that got married by Elvis.
No.
And I'm just playing. Yeah, they did the drive-through though.
Yeah.
My Ford Fusion.
So
They got married in a Ford Fusion.
You know, being a lower ranking enlisted member, you don't get paid a lot. So we kind of went for the cheapest option to get a marriage license.
Completely understand.
And Vegas was like $70, and then to get married in Grant's car, it was like $50, and then you tipped
You had to
them.
pay to get married in your own car? At least
But it's somebody to officiate it, you know. So you're basically just paying someone to be like, "Yep, you're good, you're married." So, yeah, we went the cheap option, and then we went to McDonald's afterwards.
Did you put the "just married" on the back of the Fusion?
No.
You just went incognito. I remember it was around Christmas time or something like that.
Yeah, so I flew down for Christmas. We've been planning for me to go down to Christmas because, you know, once you get older, you know, Christmas with your family is just not the same as like a kid. So we planned for me to fly down, and he was like, "Do you just want to get married when you get down here?" And I was like, "Sure."
Mm-hmm.
So flew in on the 23rd, and we got married on the 23rd.
I remember when he was telling everybody, because at first I had been gone for this Thanksgiving that Grant had come back, and so he had kind of like let it slip that he was gonna he was gonna ask somebody to marry him, but we didn't really know you, and so at the time we were just somebody had said something, and I was like, okay, well Grant is a kidder. Anybody listen to this? If you made it this far, you already know he's a jokester. But then all of a sudden, he flashed the ring on like Christmas Eve or something to his twin brother. And I was like, oh, doing it for the money, I see. Doing it for the paycheck.
So
now look at you.
Yeah, so he wasn't actually going to tell any of you guys.
That doesn't surprise me.
We were just going to do it, and I was like, no, you have to tell.
Stick the ring in your pocket when he's around us?
Yeah, like, I was like, you have to tell your family. I'm not going to go to, like, because the next time that he would come visit you guys, I would be tagging along, you know?
God, what a sour taste in your mouth when Nana would call you a girlfriend.
So, yeah.
You know, and you're like,
So, yeah, I can't, like, let you marry me and not even tell your family that we're going to get married. So, yeah, he finally told. And multiple days went by, and I was like, have you told your family? He's like, not yet. I was like, okay, well, you need to, because if you don't, we're not getting married.
Were you just nervous about it, or?
No. But, you know, marriage is between me, Kelsie, and the Lord.
I think he was honestly
and Elvis.
Yeah, I just think he was nervous of like what you guys would think, because like, you know, being in the military, everything moves so fast. Like, you know, normally people wait several years to even get engaged, and here we are 6-7 months down the road, and we're already getting married. You know, but I mean, when you know, I guess. And we just were like, well, if we want to be together, if we want to be stationed together, this is what we have to do. And, don't regret it at all.
Well, you're quite lovely. I can finally see why Grant at least told us. And so y'all seem very happy, and that's a really good thing.
Yeah. We're kind of inseparable. It's kind of funny. Like,
yeah.
We don't leave each other's side really ever.
Well, at this point, y'all got to stick together, because something might happen if one kills me. You want to know?
It becomes harder for Kelsie to leave because she would have to change her name. Me, I still got the same last name, so, but she better not leave me, because I will kill her. That's not domestic abuse or domestic violence. I do not condone domestic violence.
Oh my God. Shut up. That out.
Kelsie, what made you want to get in medicine?
So I've always been infatuated with medicine. At first, I really obviously love animals. That's why we have 6. And so I was a vet tech for a while, and it just kind of wasn't my thing. So I then did like a CNA type position, and I really enjoyed like working with people. I'm a big people person, and I love helping people. That's a big thing for me, is like, to make me happy, I like to help somebody else. Yeah. So medicine just kind of made sense, and I love it. I love learning about it, hearing people's problems and solving like what's going on. It's just a passion. You either know you like it or you don't. That's
I can 100% agree.
Yeah.
It might seem like cliche, I guess, because I feel like a lot of people might say it about, you know, it really satisfies me to help other people, but I get absolutely no joy from helping myself. If anything, I think constantly about, I might need to make myself better so that I can help somebody else down the road.
Yeah.
And so you just have to know yourself, know what your interests and your, you know, I like gross things and I like helping people.
Love gross things.
It's, you know, that's the allure of medicine, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, you've actually had some on-job experience.
A lot.
But yeah. Well, even when you're not on duty, remember when you got put in the paper for
in Alaska? Yeah, there's a lot of wrecks. Of course, especially in the summer, you would think it would be more in the winter when it's icy and snowy, but it's a lot during the summer because people are so used to driving in the winter. So now the roads are clear, and so they're going super fast and reckless. So me and a friend were going home, and we noticed that there was a wreck, and there was nobody on site besides a couple military people in uniform. And so we stopped, we ran across the road, perform life-saving measures. Luckily, we showed up because the people that were there, they didn't really have any medical training, and so they hadn't even called 911 yet. And so we were the first to call, first on scene. So it was pretty cool. Never like to see someone messed up, but it was a nice experience because as we go through training, we get the EMT training and doing that, but if you're not put in a place where you can use it, you don't really ever use it. So it was nice to actually finally use it, although it wasn't a great thing for that person, but it was nice to actually get to see how I would react in an emergent type of situation. So
you got your name in the paper?
Yeah, so it was all over Facebook, the news, and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how we saw your name posted on Facebook. We were like, "Ooh, we know her."
Yeah. So it's a cool experience.
Mm-hmm. I did want to talk a little bit about the medical parts of your actual bodies, not your careers. I hate to say it like that, but these two are pretty unique as well. Grant suffers from ulcerative proctitis, as he has made it clear.
Which is the same thing as colitis, ulcerative colitis, but it's just closer to the anus. So therefore it's called proctitis. Mm-hmm. So,
which is just an inflammatory bowel disease that causes him to carry on.
Causes me to bleed from my asshole, yes. Don't worry, I am taking medicine, not regularly, because I like to keep it spicy down there.
So it's funny because when Grant first told me about him bleeding, I just assumed, because I had asked them the questions, because, I hear about this all day at work, patients will come in, yeah, I have blood in my stool. And so I asked him the questions and he was like, yeah, it's, bright red. It's there when I wipe, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, hemorrhoids, don't think anything of it. And then a couple months later, he was like, Kelsie, come in here. And, there was a lot. That was way more than just hemorrhoids, for sure. So yeah, I got kind of worried. I was like, oh my gosh.
That was an interesting call.
Yeah.
So Kelsie and Grant call me every now and then, one for Kelsie's medical condition, which we'll get to shortly, but also because I'm the only one up at like 10 or 11 o'clock in Alaska, which is like 6. They called me and Grant got a DRE right in the on FaceTime.
Yeah, I wanted... So, patients, because I'm only a medical technician, don't really seem up for me sticking my fingers up their rectum to see for internal hemorrhoids. So I figured, at least I can try on my husband, and then when we go to the doctor, they can confirm or deny. And so I can kind of know what I'm feeling because, I do want to be a doctor at some point. So I was just kind of curious, and Grant did not take too kindly to it.
Yeah, Grant got checked out at your house, at the hospital, and then they were like, "No, we don't feel any hemorrhoids." You're like, "Whoops."
I would like to make it be known that I did not sign the paperwork to have myself violated in my own bathroom. There was a hand on my back. It was pretty forceful. Luckily it wasn't hemorrhoids. I just, then got violated by a scope at the ripe age of 26. So make sure you schedule your colonoscopies.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm dying right now. I'm crying a little bit. Yes. So Grant, luckily though, you just take a steroid, right? And that's helped a lot. Is there a diet or anything that they've told you to keep up with, or maybe to take your medication on a regular basis?
So they have told me to take my medication on a regular basis.
Well,
but
at the same time, no, because it just varies in patient to patient. Some people only have to take it once or twice a week, and that's enough for them. But Grant really needs to take it daily because if he goes a couple days without taking it, the blood just comes right back, and he has stomach issues. He starts feeling bad, and you can really tell when he doesn't take his medication. So it's really patient to patient whether or not it should be taken daily or on a regular basis, you know.
Have you tried changing your diet or anything?
So I've not changed my diet, no, and I will not change my diet for anybody. But no, so medication does help everybody. Don't let the mainstream media lie to you. But also, I do get Miralax for free from the pharmacy. So if anybody needs Miralax, hit me up on the plug.
Oh my god. So there is a diet that people can follow that have ulcerative colitis or proctitis.
Right, I didn't know. Yeah.
So it's like a Mediterranean. You shouldn't eat red meat, but of course, Grant refuses to do any of those. So here we are, just taking the medication constantly.
So they said to use a Mediterranean diet. I've also heard that sometimes for inflammatory disorders, that the carnivore diet could be beneficial because you cut out everything else. And so usually there's something that you're eating that's causing the inflammation.
Yeah.
And you're eating it and you don't realize you're eating it. And a lot of people cut out that stuff and then they do the carnivore diet. And there's a specific protocol, like you go 2 to 3 weeks, only the red meat, right? And then you bring something like broccoli.
Yeah.
You eat broccoli for a week. You see if that changes. Then you go back to the meat. And then you go try something else. And you try to figure out what is the thing that's causing yours. And then you can just avoid it.
So what you're talking about is an elimination diet.
More of like elimination, but you just start with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but in the case of ulcerative colitis, one of the main things that can inflame it is red meat.
So then you wouldn't want to do the carnivore?
No. I mean, you wouldn't want to, you could do a carnivore diet, but you wouldn't want to do red meat. You could do like any other meats.
Just chicken.
Yeah. So, and that's a lot of where the Mediterranean comes in. So you have a lot of different meats like lamb, which Mediterranean diet is great for a lot of different medical conditions.
Cardiac.
Yeah. It can.
It's one of the best diets.
It literally.
There's a reason they're so thin and their skin looks so nice.
Exactly. If everybody could do a Mediterranean diet, we would not have excessively fat people. So
also, if we didn't have gravy here in the South,
but gravy's good. So who wants to give out the good things? But yeah, you just got to do some research. You can talk to a nutritionist. In the military, we do get all those things for free. So it's very beneficial. Grant just doesn't want to take advantage of those things.
I bet that is nice that being in the military where you have at least the free health care. Like, especially this situation that we're in, like right now, with you having IBD. And I guess the next topic, because I mean, I just wanted to briefly touch on Grant's, at least for times. Kelsie also has a condition called Castleman syndrome, which is a lymph node dyscrasia, where her lymph nodes essentially are bound to create a tumor, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was like it. And as I was reading, I don't know everything about this, so you can enlighten me more. I just know that its basis is like the HSV8, like Kaposi sarcoma.
Yeah.
Either it's similar or it's.
So there's 3 different types of Castleman disease. So there's the unicentric, which is not caused by HSV8 or thing else. It's just they really don't know what causes it.
Yeah, idiopathic. Yeah.
And then there's the multicentric that starts from HSV8, which tends to be the most severe cases of Castleman. And then there's the idiopathic multicentric Castleman's disease. And again, they don't know where exactly it's coming from. You're just not necessarily just growing tumors, but the lymph nodes become inflamed and you start getting sick. And that's mostly the telltale signs of Castleman's disease is you start noticing all these weird symptoms that you don't really think they correlate to each other, but they actually do, which is surprising.
Did they tell you what kind you had?
So right now I'm diagnosed with unicentric. We're kind of leaning towards possible multicentric, but from my research and reading over the support group that I've found on Facebook with, I think there's 1.4K people in the group.
That's the beautiful thing about Facebook sometimes.
Yeah. And people talk about, their experiences, their symptom. People are saying that, in 2007, they were diagnosed with unicentric. And now in 2022, they found masses or inflamed lymph nodes for no reason in other places. And so they're getting diagnosed with multicentric. So I'm really curious because it's so rare and not a lot of people are doing research about it. If unicentric is even really a thing, or is it always just happening in multiple places?
Yeah.
And we're just not finding it
until later.
Yeah. And so not everybody is presenting at unicentric, that state.
That's interesting. Yeah. Because that would just be, if it's unicentric, it would mean that that's only happening in one location.
Yeah.
Which yours was in 2 locations, right? When they went in, technically then they found 2?
Technically, I'm not a doctor, but I would assume it would technically be in 2 places. So I had a mass growing on my small intestines, and then the lymph nodes and the mesentery around the intestines were super inflamed, and they didn't take out those lymph nodes. And so I've still, even after the surgery, they told me I would be cured because it was only in one place, and they removed the mass, but they didn't ever remove the lymph nodes. So I felt good for about a month after the surgery, and then the symptoms started right back, and probably the worst that they had ever been. So don't think that's...
What symptoms did you start? Like, what made you think that something was going on?
So originally, back in the beginning of 2020, I started noticing that I was feeling sick all the time. So I was having flu-like symptoms, and that's when COVID really started to kick off. So I had been COVID tested, I think at this point, around upper 20s. And then there's like swelling, there's, let me pull my list out and I'll tell you all the symptoms.
This is your list of all the symptoms you have?
I've experienced
She
myself.
has a full list. While Castleman's a little bit more common, but at this point it has progressed, I guess, to poem.
I have not been diagnosed with poems yet, but we're
Was your
working.
VEGF increased?
Yes, so the VEGF lab was increased. We've kind of been trying to get that diagnosis to see, like working on getting all those labs and the bone marrow and all this stuff. But poems, again, is even more rare than Castleman's.
Yes, it's almost a step up, next step up.
We just really don't know exactly what we're looking at.
Start with your symptoms and then we can talk about poems. I was
So-
just trying to fill the...
Yeah, so the symptoms I've experienced, so polyneuropathy, so my legs and my hands will just randomly go numb, not at the same time. And it's usually on one side of my body, so my left side is more affected than my right. I have constant muscle tightening, muscle spasms, cough, severe fatigue, swelling of my hands and feet, swelling in my joints and extreme pain in my joints, body aches. I have pain in my right side. It's now becoming on my left side as well, right near my pelvic bone. Mm-hmm. I have like a stabbing feeling in my chest sometimes, shortness of breath. I have random swelling in my throat. It makes it hard to swallow. So much that I can't even swallow pills sometimes. Upper respiratory symptoms, as I had said earlier. I have headaches almost daily. I've had a lot of GI issues, night sweats, nausea. I have abnormal hair growth, weakness, and excessive urinating. And so those are the things that I've experienced.
Those are just the first symptoms.
Those are the things that I've experienced and that I've seen other people have mentioned that they've experienced while having Castleman. So I've just wrote them down.
No, that's good. That's good.
They're so vastly different.
Not only so that for you to speak to your doctor or whatever about it, you have a full list, because first off, that's more than 5 things. It's hard to remember anything past 5. It's just really good to document everything that's going on.
Definitely, because
it is very rare, especially at your age. You're young.
When you see a doctor too, and they start asking your symptoms, you're like, oh, you're so like not with it. Like you're so anxious and wanting answers that like everything else goes out like that. Yeah. You know, so
and it's interesting too, because our training as a doctor, you're asking questions about symptoms to rule things out almost as much as you are ruling things in.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh God, none of this is connecting. You know, this is just all over the place.
Yeah.
Sounds like she has everything.
Yeah. So for a long time, because it took a long time to diagnose, I just thought I was severely depressed and I was just having all these weird things. And I was waking up every morning severely fatigued and just thinking like, does not everybody else feel this way? So finally, when I got the diagnosis of Castleman's, it was like a breath of relief. Like, okay, so, you know, I'm not just crazy. I'm not, you know, that was the biggest thing.
Well, you might be crazy.
I mean, yeah, I'm crazy, but not that crazy. But yeah, I initially found out that I had the mass because I thought I had appendicitis because I had extreme pain on my right side. To the point where I was crying and nauseous and almost could not stand up. So I went to the ER. We did a CT, and they noticed the mass and diagnosed me with diverticulitis at the time because they thought the pouch was actually just
an outpouching.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I kept having this pain, even after taking diverticulitis medication, that they finally wanted to do, basically just go in to see what it is. And so the first surgery I had was in December of 2021, and it was done by an OBGYN because they couldn't tell if it was attached to my uterus or my intestines or where it was attached to. And so the OBGYN went in, he noticed that it wasn't on the uterus or ovaries or anything, so he closed me back up. And when I woke up, he told me that he did not remove it, but he had some beautiful pictures of it.
Oh, those were the pictures you sent me.
Yeah, and so he told me he was referring me back to Gen Surge. And so after that surgery, I met with Gen Surge 5 days later, and he asked me if I could do the surgery the next day, and of course, you don't want to heal and then go back to surgery. Yeah. And so I said, yeah. And we did the surgery 6 days after the initial one. And we removed some of my small bowel and a little bit of the large intestines because it was so close that they ended up having to remove some of, and then reattaching it. And no more right side pain anymore. That's
good, though.
It's good, but I still have a lot of the other symptoms.
Did you have to do anything besides the surgery as far as treatment? No radiation or anything?
No,
like
not at that point. So they usually only do the radiation once you get the diagnosis of multicentric. So unicentric is just kind of
which you're
brushed off. You're like, oh, I still have these symptoms, but everybody else is like, well, you're not supposed to. And it's just like, but I do. And so it's just kind of brushed off, which is super frustrating. But luckily, I've had some recently a lot better doctors, and they're willing to try to figure out what exactly is going on.
I imagine it has to be tough going to an oncologist at your age and them trying to figure, because most of the time it would be almost pushed, like you're saying, pushed off. I wouldn't think that you have heart disease, and I wouldn't think that you have multiple tumors growing,
Yeah.
especially since you showed no sign of it before 2021 or anything like that. So it is very interesting of a condition.
Yeah, definitely. I saw an oncologist in Anchorage, and she basically blamed everything on my mental health and told me that even though I've tested negative for COVID-19, that I had it at some point.
That was a wild story.
Yeah.
Where you said the girl, you might as well just start from the top when she walked in the room and said, I haven't really looked at your condition.
Yeah, she said
She's like, I don't really know what your condition is, but I think it might be your depression.
Yeah, so she openly admitted as soon as she walked in that she hadn't even looked over my records. And then she mentioned, I'd already saw a specialist down in Seattle. I'd flew down. He had great notes. I had already read over them. And he's the one that referred me to this person in Anchorage. And so she admitted she didn't read them. And she had no idea what Castleman's disease even was, which, I don't expect a lot of people do, because it's so rare, and a lot of people hear about it. It's just like that unicorn story, and not a lot of people actually see it. And so
it'd be nice to look it up, though.
Before I stepped in, that would have been nice. And then, she just basically asked me about OBGYN symptoms at first. And I was like, I have some of them, but it's unrelated. And she basically told me that I should see an OBGYN. And I was like, I already did. They did the original surgery. And then she started going in on my mental health. And, I have PTSD from childhood trauma. I have depression that just comes along with the PTSD, and anxiety as well. And I've dealt with this since I was, 12 years old. I know what my depression feels like, and I know what it feels like when it gets bad. And it just was different. This is just totally different.
And you were not there. You were not at the oncologist's office to talk about depression.
Exactly. But
you were there to talk about a condition she didn't know.
Yeah,
she was not quite sure of.
I really thought somebody was going to come out and be like, "You're on MTV Pranked,"
Yeah.
like jump out, But that did not happen. That was a real visit, and I was just staring at Grant the whole time, like, "Is this lady serious?"
Is it difficult finding doctors in Anchorage?
So yes, there's not a lot of medical care in Alaska. Like, I'm supposed to see an endocrinologist, but there's 2 to 3 in all of Alaska, and they do not have any visits until a year out from now. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah, so I'd have to go down to the lower 48 to receive care if I wanted to find out anymore.
Good Lord. Well, it's a good thing you're moving to DC.
Thankfully.
Because that is, and you said there was only 3 endocrinologists in all of Alaska or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's tough. That's tough because of the geographical location and that it's a very, very rare. I remember I was looking up, so not Castleman's, but Kelsie also has what they believe is maybe it's more of a progression, and it's called POEMS. It's just based off symptoms. So it's usually there's a criteria of 3 things, and it's having a lymph node disorder, whether it's Castleman's or
myeloma,
multiple myeloma or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that leads to this antibody. What is it?
It's a protein.
It's a BCL2 protein made excessively throughout the body, and it starts to cause, and that's what the POEM stands for, is the polyneuropathy, organomegaly. What was E? Endocrinopathy.
Yeah.
And then it was the monoclonal protein, which was the B cell.
Yeah.
And then skin changes.
Yeah. So.
And you needed 3 criteria, which was the lymph node, it was the VEGF and the polyneuropathy.
Yeah. And they always look at bone marrow as well. And from what I've read, it's not a diagnosing criteria, but it does help diagnose it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you don't
There's
have
like a bunch of minor things too that can add up to maybe a major.
Yeah. So the biggest criteria is the polyneuropathy and then the VEGF lab, and then having either Castleman's disease or multiple myeloma. And there's a couple other different.
There was one. Yeah. Yes. And this was my only information comes from Up to Date and a couple papers that I read when I found out you had it. But I only say that because on Up to Date, the incidence is unknown.
Yeah.
It's so rare. All it says is this is a rare disorder. The incidence is unknown, and we can tell you that it usually occurs in the 5th to 6th decade. So if you are only getting your information from Up to Date, you would not have any suspicion. It says it occurs in the 5th to 6th decade, and it occurs mostly in men.
Yeah.
You would have no suspicion
So
for you.
when I was doing my research, I, of course, looked up the youngest person to ever been diagnosed with POEMs, and it was a 20-year-old male. And he presented similar to what I'm presenting with now. So it's not always, not anything in medicine is not always what it seems, It's
everybody's different.
Yeah. So who knows? Well,
it's interesting though, because this is literally, it was discovered in like 1938. So you're sitting right in, what is that, World War II era?
yeah.
It's the first time anybody ever like categorized this.
Yeah.
And it was saying even in the first couple ones, they didn't really know what they were looking at all.
Yeah. And when I've had like the polyneuropathy, I've actually had injuries due to it. Because when you do have the polyneuropathy, at least in my case, I don't notice that body part is numb until I'm trying to use it. So the first time I noticed it, I was sitting down at a get together with some friends, and I got up to go try to get water, and I stood up and my foot just drug underneath me, and I stepped down and didn't even notice that it was stepping down on the top of my foot, and I just snapped it. Yeah, so that was pretty fun. And, when I went to the ER, they were more concerned that I had like a severe grade 3 ankle sprain, but not the fact that my leg was numb and I couldn't feel anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's very interesting at the fact that how much you can be ignored because you're young.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, it's so uncommon, and it's very difficult because you are young. You don't want to just blast you with radiation looking for things when you don't think that they would be there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will say I do have the criteria though, and it was to have a plasma cell disorder, peripheral neuropathy, and then one or more of you either having osteosclerotic myeloma, which is the bone changes, which I thought you said you did have.
No.
Or you don't have that one? Okay.
Don't. They haven't really even checked yet.
Yeah, you still need the scan, right?
Yeah.
Which we had to talk about that. You have the increased VEGF, which you do, edema, which you do, endocrinopathy, which you do because you have increased testosterone.
Yep.
Skin changes, I don't know if you had any of those. I don't know. I don't remember you saying that.
So, in skin changes on Up to Date, they talk up kind of the excessive hair growth, excessive like thickening of skin, and I do have the thickening and the excessive hair growth, which is
That's your issue too, is you can't get laser hair removal. Because
actually, they finally support me in doing that, since the dermatologist I recently saw has seen Castleman's disease before.
That's awesome.
And so he's willing. I can laser hair removal, but I'd have to pay for it because I didn't have the diagnosis of PCOS.
Yes. So for everybody listening, PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, it actually causes you to have an increase of estrogen, can cause an increase in testosterone, leading to women having hair growth similar to men. like where it is on your face. You can even have hair loss similar to men, which is the balding at the top of your head. I'm sure you've seen plenty of grandpas with that hairstyle.
Yeah.
And so Kelsie has no increase in estrogen, only testosterone due to the Castleman's disorder. So when she wanted laser hair removal, but she could not actually it covered because PCOS is covered on your insurance. Nobody knows what the hell Castleman's is. So
Until recently,
thank God. Though. We were like, there has to be an exception.
So yeah, when I get back, I actually get to get laser hair removal.
That's awesome. Are there any limitations on like your diet or like exercise or things that you can do?
So I've recently noticed that when I work out, I do notice an increase in symptoms, let's say the next day or 2 days from then. Any type of excessively doing any activity, whether it be lifting heavy items or doing a workout, will cause an increase of, the sweating, at night, the flu-like symptoms. And so it really sucks because I've gained a lot of weight because every time I try to get back into a workout routine, I get sick.
Oh no, that stinks.
Yeah.
So what is the next step from here?
I really am just waiting for doctors to tell me. So I have a bunch of referrals out. They want to do a neurology workup. They want to do the endocrinology workup. And there's a bunch of different workups.
Radiology stuff, your MRI.
Yeah. So getting a brain MRI to rule out MS. There's just a lot of things that they just want to rule out to make sure that we're going the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about doing a case study? Right?
Yeah, so I know that my surgeon that originally did remove the mass of Castleman disease, he started a case study on me just to talk about how he did the surgery because he did it in a really unique way. He pulled out my entire intestines through a C-section scar, which is a really different way to do it. So yeah, he talked about my case, and I don't know if he ever published it, but he talked to me about.
Do you have a C-section scar?
I do.
So when people are like, "Where's the baby?" You're like, "Nah."
Yeah. And
Who would be seeing it?
yeah, so the C-section scar is actually pretty nice. They're nice. When you wear a bikini or any kind of underwear, you can't really see it. It's hidden behind that.
Yeah, the underwear. That's nice, though.
Yeah, so if I wanted to wear a bikini, you wouldn't even see my scar.
All right. Oh, I did want to add one other thing, and then we can move on past this.
Okay.
Did they think that it was anything genetically?
So it's unknown whether it's genetic.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not a lot of research on it.
I know.
It's not like cancer. It's not killing people, really. And there's not a lot of people that have it. So, there's not a lot of doctors who are like, what's going on with these people? So there's just not a lot of answers for us. And it really sucks.
Yeah, I understand. I was just curious because I was like, I didn't know if you would, how they do if you were trying for kids or anything like that? Yeah. Where you look at the sperm and the egg and where they match up, some people that have, whether it be Down syndrome or something, whatever in their family, and they don't want to pass on certain things, they can do the genetic evaluation. But I don't know if they would know what to look for you. But there's not a specific chromosomal marker.
Yeah, so if they were to look, I don't think.
What the hell would that tell you? Yeah, they would just be like, okay, looks good.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I just was trying to think it through, but I don't see any win-win in there.
Yeah. From what I've read in the support
Let's
group,
just let nature take its course, baby.
I know people are worried about passing it on to their kids because it is a miserable disease. There's a lot of times where I physically cannot get out of bed. Mm-hmm. Either I'm hurting so bad or I'm just so tired. I just can't. Nobody wants to pass that on.
No, I don't.
So, Yeah, a lot of people are questioning, does anybody know? And it's just kind of like, we don't.
That's interesting, yeah, because like sometimes when it happens earlier, there's a lot of reasons that it could. And, you know, maybe if it was a trinucleotide repeat or something like that, there could be more of them. Maybe they'd be able to pick up on that, but I don't even know. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
So that would just be, it would be interesting. If anybody is listening and knows any extra information that we have not covered about Castleman's or poems, or technically ulcerative proctitis, and would like to comment or would like me to ask Kelsie or Grant any other questions, please reach out to us at offwhitecotepodcast at gmail.com, or you can hit us up on our Instagram with the same name. And now we can finally move past that because
Deep.
I know it gets super deep. I'm sorry. But we had to tell people, like, because that's a super rare condition, first off.
Yeah.
And the fact that your oncologist didn't even know when she went into the room makes it, you know, like it was good even for me, because I went into a rotation one day and I just said, has anybody heard of poem? Has anybody heard of Castleman's? And everybody's like, nope. And I was like, well, this is my time to tell you. This is what Kelsie had. I only have a couple more questions. We're going to wrap it up because it is kind of getting a little bit late. So first, I guess we could say, what are your medical aspirations in the future? I know you said you want to be a doctor. Do you know what kind of doctor you want to go into?
So I really like family practice. You kind of see a little bit of everything. And the doctor that I work with in the family practice, we do vasectomies, we do, dermatology.
Better watch out, Grant.
We do a lot of dermatology procedures, removing moles, setting them off. We do a lot of just different things all around. So I like that aspect. And in the military, there's a lot of just sports injuries. So, if you're into doing like orthopedics and stuff, so you get a little bit of hands-on with those kind of injuries. And of course, we prefer, but you could be the first to find it. Mm-hmm. Which is, I really like everything about family medicine, but I also love learning about neurology, like learning about the brain. Mm-hmm. So those two are, I guess we'll see once I go into rotations, whether or not that's something I want to do. So
you never know till you actually get into rotations. Because then you actually see the lifestyle and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. I definitely don't want to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I know I don't like emergency medicine. So I've worked in that environment.
Don't let my mom hear you say that.
It's all about the person.
Don't let your mother-in-law hear you say that.
It's all about the person, too, though. Like, some people that's great for, and then some people,
You got to be willing to get yelled at constantly.
Yeah.
Me, that's normal for my day. If I don't get yelled at once, then I'm not having a good one.
It's stereotyping, like, ortho. They're all, like, tool bags, Mm-hmm. They live, breathe ortho, So it...
Technically, you have to, after the 5-year residency and all the stuff you had to do.
Yeah, so... I know.
It's hard to... I mean, everybody's different. And even if they stereotype a situation, it doesn't mean that you have to fit into that box.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about becoming a surgeon that's actually happy with his life. So we break some... Grant, what do you want to do? He's eager to get this mic in front of him.
It's been a while. How's it going? No, so this is breaking news, so Mary Beth, if you could add the breaking news soundtrack. So I originally had put my degree plan towards doing the IPAT program, but I wanted to get my doctorate. So I am actually changing my degree plan to get a traditional bachelor's degree through an online university, and then try to get into the Use Choose program, which is the doctorate program or the MD program for the military, in which case I can get them to pay it all off, which Jordan should have looked into this sooner. And also, the first Dr. Abneys you might know at the rate Jordan's going might be Dr. Kelsie Abney. and Dr. Grant Abney.
Yeah, that's actually probably accurate.
Hey,
Oh, so
everybody's
you're
got to move
going-
at their own pace.
You're going for the MD as well, my dude.
Yes. What would I like to practice?
Where is this online facility? Is it
So-
the University of Phoenix?
No, it's DeVry University.
No.
No, it's so there's this cool thing that the military does where they give you $4,500 a year to take online classes or to take classes. And a lot of programs will knock down the tuition cost to $250 a credit hour.
For military.
So for military. So right now I'm going to American Military University online, which is through the American Public School University System.
Okay.
So it's completely online courses, but I can take chem labs, I can take A&P labs, biology labs, all that good stuff to get an actual degree. So I would have transferred my credits from Mercer, but with a 2.2 GPA coming out of Mercer, I'm not really looking to use that. So right now I am trying to
start fresh. Baby.
Yes, I started fresh. So right now your boy's got a 3.76.
Just don't let Mercer hear that you're trying to become a doctor.
Yeah, Mercer would not like me doing that. They're like, wait, this kid goes to class? Yes, I do. Put it on a laptop. But, yeah, so
That's bought me a little bit of extra time. That's bought me a little. I might be able to I might not beat you, Kelsie, but Grant, I've got a little bit extra
Yeah,
time
there's
on
3 years wasted. He got me. No, but so right now I'm in the process of switching my degree plan to do sports and health sciences.
Dude, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right now I'm doing pretty well in the online classes, and I have, a couple of the harder ones left, like Chem, OChem, stuff like that. Chem 2. My bad, I already passed Chem 1 with an A. Oh, no, I got a B in it. But it was my 4th time taking it. So, but that being said, during
Time's the charm.
And I got a B.
well, so the problem is during the time of me taking the class, I was also going to Antarctica. So I couldn't do all the labs. I had to just take some zeros for a couple of the labs because I couldn't take the lab.
So what happened the first time you took Chem?
So the first time I took Chem in 2014, I did not go to class. And I took the test and I made a D. Okay. Made a D. So it's pretty good for not reading the book and not going to class to make a D.
All right. Well, we pretty much got to the nitty gritty of it. They tried to prevent us from doing this. We were going to do this podcast the other day when we went to the cabin. My grandparents have a cabin, and then all the power went out. So fate was trying to hold us back.
Yes, there was a murder in the cabin, but don't worry, we escaped because we're here. This is not ghost speaking.
Yes.
We actually killed the murderer. So there is a dead body out in Mentone, Alabama. You don't need to really go look for it, but it is out there.
No, if anything, we ran from the house. We were like, we've seen this in multiple scary movies. We need to get the hell out of this house.
I was the only one just trying to go to sleep. Everybody else was like, let's go.
Kelsie said, if Castleman can't kill me, this murderer can't kill me.
Legit.
Guy's last name is Castleman. Well, ice fishing. Have you done it? I'm just going to ask you a couple random questions at this point.
No, not really a big fan of fishing and or sitting out on ice.
Okay. Grant. Well, for one, Grant is considering getting a nose ring, which prompts me to think, now that you live in Alaska, do y'all Eskimo kiss now?
What is Eskimo kissing again?
Where you rib noses.
Oh, yes, we do. And by the time this comes out, I will have a nose ring.
So how will the Eskimo kissing go with the nose ring?
Well, we'll have it on the same side, so...
Oh, so that's how you prevent the locking.
Yeah.
Have you seen a polar bear?
So, no, they more live north.
In the Arctic more?
Yeah. So,
Yes, more north than Alaska.
in Alaska, but more north than Anchorage. They're, I think, in the Arctic Circle above that line, which is about 3 hours above Fairbanks.
Okay.
So, far up.
So never.
Alaska is huge. So
I've heard that it's beautiful. Yeah, my family's gone and visited y'all multiple times. I have to.
well, you have.
Well, eventually, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. Yeah, really. I mean, did y'all enjoy y'all's time back home?
Yeah, I really enjoyed. So, didn't come from a great family. Let's just put it that way. So it's really nice to be a part of a family that actually cares and wants to hang out with you, wants to be around you. So it's really cool to be a part of you guys.
I think this is just flattery.
No, it's super true.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Can't complain. Got a lot of reading in. Not. But, yeah, because it's been 3 years since I've been home to Rome. So, yeah, I can't complain. And, we've been busting our ass, 5 days a week at work for essentially 12-hour days with no real off time. Because you also are technically on call at all points in time. So it's nice to be able to relax for 2 weeks and just really unwind and kind of get your time back
Get your
that you
reading
deserve.
Do I say get your reading in?
Yes, get my reading in. Yes, I read all the Harry Potter novels.
He did no reading, but comes back with his nose pierced.
Jeez.
And Kelsie, is there anything else you would like to say to the audience about Castleman's or poems or like things to look out for?
No, I mean, if anybody has questions or wants to reach out, they can definitely reach out, and I can kind of direct you in the way that I've found and help out as much as I can just by having it and learning so much myself about it. But yeah, that's about
it. Grant, anything about your rectal bleeding?
Jesus Christ.
No, nothing more from me. But I would like to say that it's really good to finally, get on this podcast. Long time listener, first time caller in. I've actually literally been waiting to say that this whole time. I meant to say it at the beginning, and then I remembered it right now, right at the end. So you're welcome.
And on that, everybody, I hope that you've enjoyed this. These two people are fantastic. Thank y'all so much for being here with me.
Yeah.
It has been fantastic.
It's been great to be here. Thanks.
Play us out.
All right.
Hey everyone, I want to take this time to tell you about our friends over at TrueLearn. They have this top-of-the-line test bank that is perfect for any upcoming board exams that you may have. They have test banks for all types of exams. So whether you're studying for medical school, nursing school, OT, pharmacy, and others like speech pathology, TrueLearn is the way to go. If you're like me and going through medical school, they have question banks for all the big exams, like Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3, with quality assessments for each exam. Look, I know we didn't go into healthcare because we love taking tests. This is the hard part of the job. Make it easy on yourself with TrueLearn. Sign up now with the code OFFWHITECOAT to get $25 off your purchase. That's OFF white coat, no spaces, to get $25 off your purchase. This is a test bank that you do not want to pass up on. Make this easy on yourself. Take the deal, pass your boards, and get back to enjoying the reason you went into healthcare. And make sure to use Off White Coat when you pick it up.